Hello all you ghouls, ghosts and goblins out there. This is Scare Trial, where I'll be reviewing the most tingling, terrifying, trouser-soiling video games out there, and giving you my honest opinion. Today we're looking at Nightmare of Decay, which is a first-person survival horror game developed by Checkmatey, a developer who seemingly have only developed one other game so far, a tower defense game called Rainfall. And that's rain as in rain in blood, not rain as in like... So my friend recommended this to me almost immediately after it was released, because it ticks all the boxes for the sort of modern indie horror title that I like. It's got low poly PS1 style graphics, classic survival horror gameplay, a low price tag because have you seen the price of petrol these days, and a ridiculously generic and meaningless name. Seriously, Nightmare of Decay? Like, who has nightmares about decay? Maybe dentists, but it does seem a bit like they just put a bunch of scary words in a hat and pulled them out to see if they could come up with a title. Oh yeah, let's do it. Let's try it. All right, let's pull some names out of a hat, blind, and see what horror game name we can come up with. All right, first word, second word. We've got Cannibals of Death. There we go. Cannibals of Death, kind of like Cannibal Holocaust, I guess. All right, let's try another one. All right, first word and second word. We've got Darkness of Hell. Like, there's a lot of fire in hell, so I don't see how hell would be that dark, but you know, I guess like everyone has their own personal hell. Okay, first word, second word. We've got Suffering of Judgment. I guess that's kind of more abstract. That sounds more like a Kafka book, I guess. I'll do a couple more. Alright, one more. Maybe make this the last one, because you guys want to see a review of the game. Alright, we got Possession of Brutality, which sounds more like two different police, like, you know, two different like criminal charges mixed together. Alright, one more, because I'm kind of enjoying this. Alright, first word and second. Ritual of Sacrifice. So like, yeah, that kind of works. Like, Ritual of Sacrifice, yeah, why not? Okay, cool. Alright, that's over with. Let's go on to the review. In fact, when I first heard the name, I did immediately think Cry of Fear. And that's not far off. This is a low-res, moody, atmospheric, first-person shooter type survival horror. And the two games do share some similarities. But Nightmare of Decay has a lot of much closer similarities with a lot of other survival horror classics, which I'll get into now. The game is set in a large, creepy mansion, which bears more than a little similarity to another game whose name rhymes with President Weevil. When I first entered the mansion at the start of the game, it was almost comforting, like I'd stepped back into a childhood home that I'd long since moved away from. And that's not where the similarities end, far from it. Your first encounter with a zombie is basically a shot-for-shot remake of the first zombie encounter from Resident Evil 1. There's also a shitload of items, assets, mechanics and themes that are carbon copied from Silent Hill, Resident Evil, Amnesia, and a bunch of others. But you know what? I don't think this is a bad thing at all. After PT came out and was subsequently scrubbed from existence by Konami, every indie horror game wanted to emulate it. At least Nightmare of Decay is completely unabashed in its plagiarism. I mean, with the game selling for just £3.99 on Steam, it's like the devs were too broke to pay homage, so they just resorted to straight up stealing from other games. And you know what? I don't even want to use such a negative word as stealing, because it works so well. This isn't Simuluk, whatever, which felt more like a fan game with assets straight up lifted from the Team Silent era Silent Hill games. But this is a recreation of the classics that's like a band doing a note-for-note cover of a classic well-loved song, whilst adding their own twist to it at the same time. Honestly, seeing all these items and mechanics recycled exactly the way they were in old survival horror games made me as a player feel like confident and more equipped because I knew exactly what these items were doing. And at the same time, they've taken out a lot of the more tedious elements of those games, such as limited inventory space, which is sometimes adds to the tension, but sometimes it's just a massive pain in the ass looking at you, Resident Evil 0. And just not having to have an ink ribbon to save your progress, like just be able to like find the save point in the save, just like makes life so much easier, makes the game more enjoyable as well. The gameplay is basically a fetch quest around a creepy mansion, with a couple of light jump scares, some not too challenging but not completely brainless puzzles, very satisfying combat, and a bit of later Resi style goofiness thrown in for good measure. Honestly, it's a tried and tested formula, but it's not a tired and tested formula. There's a couple of its own little quirks and surprises thrown in that caught me off guard, but honestly, it just does that classic survival horror formula so well that it's really engaging and satisfying to play. I'd also like to add that completing the standard campaign opens up some really fun unlockable modes, so there's replay value in there as well. Oh, did I mention this game is just £3.99 or whatever the hell that is in US dollars, I don't know, $5 or whatever. The story is not too deep, but interesting enough to keep you reading the memos you pick up, and there's an interesting twist in that you actually encounter some speaking NPCs along the way as well. Oh, and the atmosphere. Yeah, the atmosphere is awesome. Low poly graphics with sparsely used music. The devs were definitely taking notes from Silent Hill composer Akira Yamaoka, who says something like, "One of the most important instruments a composer can use is silence." That's definitely not the exact quote, but I couldn't find the quote without googling the word silence along with his name, which made it hard to filter the results, and then I couldn't be bothered to like find the exact quote, but you get the idea. Actually, now that I think about it, I'm not sure he even said that, but whatever. The music is only really present in the save rooms and the other areas devoid of enemies, like the puzzles, which is the way it should be. The silence keeps your ears pricked up when they need to be, and the music lets you know you can focus on saving or focus on the puzzles without getting taken by surprise by a brain-hungry bugger who might be blundering behind your bottom. And the music itself is great. Minimalistic but atmospheric, and you know, it's like it's exactly the sort of music you'd expect to hear in a classic survival horror game. Overall, I'd strongly recommend this game to classic survival horror fans, gamers on a budget, and honestly anyone who has Steam and a few quid to spare. It's a facsimile of a love letter to classic survival horror games, but it also manages to do its own thing and offer its own sort of unique and twisted blend of scares and thrills, and you know what, just go and buy the game. It's a great game. It's a really good game. Yeah, shout out to Checkmate, the developers. Please like and subscribe. I'll be sure to post more content in the future when I can be bothered. And yeah, you have the fright to a scare trial.